this early landmark Farbrengen of Pasha Shmini, Tovshin Yud Beis, where the Olam took a lot of mashke at the Rebbe's behest, and the Rebbe himself took a lot of mashke. And in the early years, the Rebbe is demanding Aroizgin from sich on all levels, and he's addressing Bochim, Balabatim, and Gvirin. Most unusual. The fact is that Avodah later changed. They're about to break. There's a lot of breaking the molds happening in the early years. And this is like the first one. Then came Shlichus. But the first one was, survivors from a Yidden, lay low. There's a big, terrible world out there that almost destroyed us. Thank God we're in America, we're in Canada, we're in Australia, a democracy. Let's play by the rules. And that the whole Jewish identity, keep it within our $4 damas to one degree or another, either create enclaves or just growing up as a kid. It was not uncommon as a child from a Yidden, mamish from a Yidden, that were bareheaded in business because it wasn't politically correct. It wasn't polite to wear a head covering in those days. V'chulu, and things like Chol of Yisrael, and this was like off the charts altogether in Australia then, and for many people. That's really something else. Chol of Yisrael is just a hidden. I'm just saying in general, the whole beards you can count on one hand in Australia, on one hand. 2 hands, maybe, maximum, as a child growing up. I told you when the first Shluchim came, that Zalman's father label, the first Bachim, they weren't called Bachim, they're called Shluchim, because there were no Bachim. There was 3 Bachim, 3 older boys that we should look like the Babich Bachim, my grown son, and my Prelov's son. Then it started. So the beginning where it was breaking the mold. Iskafia, we're holding that by Ishapcha in a way. The world is it's been exposed, broken, shattered. And now use it all in Kedusha. It's a different Avodah. Therefore, Mashka no longer, the reality. The early years, there was a lot of L'chaim, because they had to, lift oneself out of the self-imposed confines. Although they were confined to the world once imposed on us. They broke that already, so you don't have to, this Avodah, as we're describing here now, is no longer. It's a higher of it. Likewise, Shlichus, to pound and break the whole mindset. Shlichus was a crazy idea. You just survived. Send your children away, and at a time when there was no communication, to Midbar Shemamba, to a desert. It was a war. So the Rebbe fought. I mean, a war with love, but a war. So some more examples here, just a few more examples. They were speaking here to people by the Farbrengen. So yesterday we mentioned he spoke to the Rosh Yeshiva, to the Rabbonim, and the story of the Bachim in Varsha, how they spread the Chassidus of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And then he said like this. There's a whole lot of things. He spoke to some Bachim in a footnote. He says that to some of them he said they should start to do shidduchim, and Benjamin should find a good shidduch. And I'd like to know who this person is. Maybe Chaim, you would know. This is 1952. He mentioned one Bacher that his Hanoga is L'mayla Meseda V'Adroga and his Matzliach Be'ezer Hashem. Who is that? David Raskin? I don't know. There have been a few boys then already in the early days that became the pillars. Rebbe said on David Raskin, my David. David Raskin was a chassid, a legendary chassid. I mean, not just now generation. Of all generations, Bal Yisurim, Gashmis, Baruchnis. Now the Bach, he says it's not enough that you're a Chassidic Bach, you have to mashpia on others. And he turned to the Balabatim, and he said to the Balabatim to learn from the Bachim, and he said, the Gemara in the Brachas, Igre de Kala Duchke, the reward of Kala. Kala is when they would give a shir before every Yom Tov would be a shir in Yom Yoma. And so there was the Rav would give the shir, and people a big crowd would come, and the Rabbi could hear or understand even. But duchke, the Gemara says the reward, the is the being pressed in the crowd. So he's telling the Balabatim, Shtubtzach zwischen the Bachrim. Balabatim already, even those days, that's when she got married already. I mean, just to give you an example, look at the pictures of Rabbi Yoyo, any of those Chassidim of the early days. It's shocking to see. He's a nice suit with a tie and okay, someone dressed him, but whatever. But that was, he got married for sure already. You know, married was a whole new world. It was a whole Yerida, ganze Meise. And the Rebbe wants to know, you're in your man, Kvetch, Stupsach amongst the Bochrim. And then he smiled and said, one of the Chassidim related, I think it was his father, about a Yid who came, brought his little child to a scene out of Pesach. And someone said to the father, you're bringing the child understands. To which the father said, and the adults do understand. Oh, because he said before that, we have to, oh, I'm sorry, I missed something important. They'd have to see to bring the little children 3 years old, that they should stupzach amongst the Chassidim. This is also completely unheard of. Children stayed home. The Rebbe is asking for the little kids brought to the Fabrengen. You see what happened. They ever built an army of devoted, loving soldiers from childhood. Kids were not just tolerated, brought for bracha and then sent home to mommy. But Rebbe was encouraging the children. It's 1952.